battle that started with a court filing by the Duarte Rotary Club in California in 1983 and ultimately going to the Supreme Court. The US Supreme Court ruled in May of 1987 that Rotary clubs may not exclude women from membership on the basis of gender. In 1989, at the first Rotary International Council meeting following the US Supreme Court decision, the council voted to admit women into Rotary clubs worldwide. Within a year, 20,000 women had joined Rotary worldwide. Today, that number is roughly 286,000 women, making up roughly 32% of all Rotarians. In 2020, Jennifer E. Jones became president nominee, the first woman to be nominated to be Rotary International's president, and her term will begin July 1st of 2022.
Fantastic.
It is fantastic. So in Flint, women comprise roughly 40% of our membership. And there were 3 trailblazing women who were the first women members of our Rotary Club. In fact, 33 years ago this month, they joined Rotary, several months in advance of the Rotary International vote. And those women, many of us knew them, were Carol Anselm of the YWCA, Fern Espino, the Dean of Students at U of M Flint, and Mary Elizabeth Schultz, Director of the International Institute at the time. So there is much to celebrate, but there is much work yet to be done. I share a quote from Malala Yousafzai, a fearless advocate for girls' education worldwide. Many of you know her simply as Malala. She's been covered in the Rotary International magazine at least twice. She's the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate in 2014. And she said, "I raise up my voice, not so I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard." In a world where 130 million girls are still out of school today, Rotarians everywhere can play a vital role fighting for women's rights to education and equality. And we can all help build a world where all girls can learn and lead. Thank you.
Thank you. That was excellent. And this is Women's History Month. And Malala survived being shot in the head.
Mm-hmm.
So, very, very interesting. Thanks for that information. Are there any updates or reports on the health of Rotary members?
Anne Marie, how is Dr. Van Dyne doing?
I think he's well. You know, this has been a difficult year, but they're good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Why don't you let him know we ask about him, okay?
I will. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, are there any guests to be welcome today? Okay, looks like it's us as members. Any other announcements? Lynn, are you talking? You're muted.
Does anyone know how Howard Shand is doing? Nope. Okay.
No, haven't heard.
All right.
I know he's home and I know he's recuperating, and I know we offered some technical assistance so he and Rita could watch the FSO Symphony last Saturday. So that I think is a very good sign.
Yeah, that's all. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, hearing none. Next slide. So it's time for the program. Ellen Brothers will give the introduction as Flint Rotary welcomes Ms. Kathy Gonser. Ellen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ray. It is my pleasure to introduce Flint Rotary member Kathy Gonzer, our speaker today. She is an alumna of U of M Flint with a degree in healthcare administration. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go
She
Blue.
has worked at the Michigan Dyslexia Institute for 33 years. She began as an instructor, moved up to evaluator, and has been director since 2008. It's very rewarding work, she said, and especially when she sees a person able to read a book for the very first time. Kathy and her husband have 2 adult sons. They are officially empty nesters. She has served on the Rotary Literacy Committee for so long that she couldn't remember how long it had been, but most certainly over 10 years, and I would venture to guess longer than that. She's practically been the sole representative for our club, and we owe much gratitude to her for her commitment. She will share more about the literacy efforts on behalf of Rotary and about her passion with the Michigan Dyslexia Institute. With that, I hand it over to Kathy.
Well, thank you. All right, well, let me just start with the literacy committee. I have an extra long slideshow, so if I go over, please, somebody just stop me with my PowerPoint.
You'll be fine.
I'm gonna try and keep it brief here. So March is also Literacy Month. So we've got, a double celebration here, which is good. The Literacy Committee consists of 6 clubs. It's Grand Blanc, Fenton, Sunrise, us, Genesee Valley, and Flushing. Each group, we were meeting face to face. Obviously now we've been, just on Zoom. We have been stockpiling books every year. Each Rotary Club donates, it's around $660. We purchase books through our contact with the Flint Sunrise is Kay Schwartz, from the Flint Public Library. So she has connections and we get discounted books. Usually it's about a $1 or less a book. And these books are now stockpiled out in a warehouse in Flushing. And we are looking into each club takes 500 books to each school that serves the low income community. It's the ones who get free lunches, and the kids who get free lunches, they also receive a book in their backpack. So Flint and Genesee Valley right now are kind of on hold. We are investigating what schools to go to. We're kind of having a hard time getting answers. So we do plan sometime this month to go pick up those books. Anybody interested, please let me know because I could use your help. We will go pick up the books and simply just drop them off at the schools. So any further information I will give you at that time. We're kind of, like I said, on hold right now. But by the end of the month, should know exactly where we're going and what we're gonna do. Now, and are there any questions with the literacy? Just an update. I am going to switch over to my PowerPoint now. I'm going to try. Oop, that's not what I want to do. There we go. So obviously, I've been here quite some time. Don't plan on leaving. I am not going to read these slides verbatim. You guys, yes.
We don't have your screen up yet. So,
oh, all right. Well,
yep. So I think
Let
George, are you?
Let me share. Maybe I didn't share.
Yep, you have to share.
Let me go back. Maybe.
You put all that work into it.
I know.
We got to see it.
That would be nice.
Good old technology.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not the best with it.
So you see you found the share screen button at the bottom.
No, I'm still searching here.
It's it should be right at the bottom of your screen. It's going to be in green.
Yeah, no.
It's not there.
Not there. Just a minute. I got it. Ah, All right. And show, let me help again. Start again here. In my share. Let me know if you see anything yet. I am sharing.
Okay, when you clicked on it, did kind of what's on your computer screen?
Yeah,
pop-
no,
No, okay,
absolutely nothing.
okay.
Let me see what's up here. Just a minute. What about now?
Not yet.
Ah, I apologize.
That's all right.
Don't want to do that. Screen. All right, well, I guess I need help.
Can you email it to George real quick?
It's 45. It's not going to be real quick.
So on your computer screen, you can see the gallery, all the different
Yep,
faces, right?
no.
No? Okay, so go up, let's try this. Go up to your upper right corner where it's just
Yep.
view and click on gallery view.
I don't have that option, gallery view.
Okay, do you have full screen view?
Email, well, I can try email here. Yeah, wait a minute. Nope. Ah, I am so sorry. I am technology challenged.
You're not alone. George, is she the host now or?
No, but she can share her screen.
Somebody tell me how to share my screen then, because I clicked on share and it's not allowing me to share.
Are you trying to share from PowerPoint or are you actually in the Zoom meeting window?
That's a good question. No, I've opened my PowerPoint, so I'm in PowerPoint.
So you may need to go back to your Zoom meeting.
Okay. Okay, maybe try now. There we go. That makes sense.
There you go.
Here we
Okay.
go.
Yeah, you did it.
Yay. Thank you.
Nice
Thank
job,
you.
Brian.
All right, now. Now I gotta, now tell me when you can't see my notes.
It's okay if we see the notes.
Well, it won't. There we
There
go.
you go. Yeah, you're
Oh,
There you go, Kathy.
okay, sorry.
No worries.
Took me longer than I wanted, so we'll just
I
go.
want to
through it.
say, Kathy, don't feel bad. We've all been there.
I'm
So-
telling you.
True.
All
Yeah.
right, well, I'm not gonna read. You guys can read for yourselves. And that way, maybe I can make up for lost time.
You're
Don't worry
fine.
about it.
Kathy.
Yeah, you're fine.
Tell me if I'm going too fast. This was an actual student. Of course, he didn't write it. I wrote it down for him. And where does the word come from? Well, it's a Greek word. All
Kathy,
of our,
Kathy, I'm sorry to stop you again, but I think you might have it on slideshow.
no, I'm clicking.
Oh, you're flicking. Okay, wonderful.
I'm clicking.
Sorry to interrupt.
Nope,
but
I'm
you might
clicking
want to
to-
slow down a little bit because if we're going to read the slides, you're going just a little bit too fast.
Okay, no problem. Just let me know. I'm trying to make up for lost time. Sorry.
Don't worry. You've got plenty of
No
time.
hurry. We're fine.
So this is the definition for dyslexia in the mental health catalogs. It was readopted in 2014. So the psychologists, neuropsychologists, PhDs use this definition as when they diagnose somebody. It is neurological in origin, and I am going to show you the difference between a regular brain and a dyslexic brain. So proficient readers use the left side of their brain, the left front in particular. Again, tell me if I'm going too fast. So just gives you an idea of where the language is located as compared a quote unquote normal brain and the dyslexic brain. So a dyslexic uses much more energy and effort to read words because of this single structure here. They're actually missing neurons. In short, a dyslexic reader uses different neural pathways when reading. They tend to use both hemispheres of the brain, and the pathways tend to be longer and less efficient. And you can see how the neurons are attached to the outer part of the brain, only on one side for the non-impaired, and then all over for the dyslexic. So this is interesting. I'll give you a minute. The bottom line is that it does exist no matter what name people give it, i.e. specific learning disability. In fact, according to Sally Shaywitz, 2003, its prevalence is actually 1 in 5 children, which is 20%. Kind of scary. This was written by a high schooler. So some characteristics of a dyslexic. And these are often misinterpreted, misunderstood, misdiagnosed, especially in a classroom. You can see how maybe a child might be thought to be ADHD, not paying attention. Not listening, when of course the opposite is true. And all of this can be taught. We just have to be taught in a way that makes sense for them. Bad handwriting also, characteristics. So an enormous amount of famous dyslexics, most of whom you know. I'm not going to give you a lowdown of each, but they all have positive aspects. In addition to, a lot of them that are pictured here, Henry Winkler, an author and actor, Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA, Brad Little, Broadway actor and singer, William Hewlett from Hewlett Packard, Will Smith, Steven Spielberg, Pablo Picasso, Tommy Hilfiger, Anne Bancroft, Polar Explorer, Bob Weir, the Grateful Dead guitarist, Nelson Rockefeller, Vice President, and another one, William Lear from the Lear Jet Foundation. Just to name a few. It is more prevalent in males, although the students that I have here at the center, we have about 60% are girls now. So the Matthew effect, if you can't read a book, how in the world are you going to study it and take a test on it? Tell me if I'm going too fast. I apologize.
Kathy, you have plenty of time, so if you want to even
Slow down.
You have lots of time, so if you want to even define some of the things, some of the characteristics that might not be, overly, we might not know what some of the.
Okay, yeah, if anybody has a question, just jump out. I apologize again because I'm thinking I gotta hurry up here. So,
Yeah.
and especially now, third grade, kids have to pass third grades, a certain level by third grade, otherwise they are held back. Our kids are intellectually average to above average. They just struggle with the written word. So to hold them back makes absolutely no sense. And I hope this law does not get passed.
Hey Kathy, I got a question, Jerry.
Sure.
Hill. Are you going to get into how you locate dyslexic children so that somebody young can be helped before they get into the higher grades?
Absolutely, I can touch on that. So a child who struggles with remembering the ABCs, even though they watch it on Sesame Street, who can't identify that A says a, by second grade, who has reversals by second grade. It's cute in kindergarten, first grade, not so cute when you reverse saw and was. These are all things to look out for. The earlier we get them, the better, the easier it is to remediate. And we kind of go through these 7 or these steps here for how to find a dyslexic and how we get that information into a dyslexic's mind. And it's called the GRASP method. So we try to get stuff into long-term memory. And once it gets into long-term memory, they have to know where it is in their memory to retrieve it. Kind of like a computer file. You have a ton of computer files maybe on your computer. You have to know which one of those to get into in order to retrieve your information. If you're anything like me, I have to look at 15 different ones before I can find where my issue, whatever my report is that I'm looking for. So we try to get them organized so that they know where to go rather than going maybe from A to Z to F to L. We want them to go A, B, C in order. And then they have to integrate that information, to everyday life, not just be able to spit it out to us. They have to be able to use it in school. So short-term memory. Got to get it into short-term memory first. We get it into short-term memory, and then we get it into long-term memory, working memory to short-term memory to working memory with repetition. So in the next slide, tell me what you see. And there's perception again. I'm sure you've seen it. Half are going to say they see 2 faces. Half are going to say they see the vase. So, 2 people can perceive something in 2 different ways. So short-term memory research indicates that the difference between short-term memory and working memory, there is a difference. Working memory is what someone is actively working on, and it then moves into short-term memory and is stored there for a few days. However, without practice and repetition, it'll disappear and it won't make it into long-term memory, which I'm totally guilty of the older I get. If I don't use it, it's gone. So we also use, helping strategies, chunking things. So it helps us to remember. You take a look at these abstract numbers, but yet when we make it a phone number, it's a little easier to remember. So we give people these strategies, even their address. You'd be surprised how many kids don't know their phone numbers or don't know their mom and dad's phone number. It's in my phone. Well, God forbid you should lose your phone. Or their addresses, let alone the days of the week and the months of the years. So I am going to show you, if you have a scrap paper maybe at your desk, this is just fun. Grab a scrap sheet of paper. Everybody ready? Okay. 5 seconds to look at these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, write down what you saw. Well, here it is up on top. Here it is down at the bottom. If you chunk it, a little easier to do. Crazy. That's how our brain works. We got to segment it into meaningful bits. So again, you know, short-term memory into long-term memory. I apologize. I think I have this in here twice. Anyways, we use a multi-sensory Orton-Gillingham approach to get that short-term memory into long-term memory. Visual is what the child sees. Auditory is what he hears and says. Kinesthetic, tactile is what he feels, the movement that he does. You have to use a combination of all three of these to get it into memory. Because you're using your senses to get it into short-term memory, and then rehearsal gets it into long-term memory. So what is Orton-Gillingham? Well, it's a teaching approach. It's a hands-on teaching approach. Every lesson we do is tailored to that specific person. I think in the 33 years that I've been teaching, maybe once or twice I've been able to use the exact same lesson plan. Just doesn't work that way. Every child is different. Every little brain is different. I can't say I'm teaching this on day 1 and this on day 2, because I may not be able to do that. I have to go as fast or as slow as I need to get that child's memory working as it should. And it's all based on their ability and their needs. So who were Orton and Gillingham? Well, Samuel Orton was a neuropsychologist, neuropathologist. Anna Gillingham also eventually she started as a nurse practitioner. And she worked with children. And they both got together and got this approach that we still use today. Because it works. So the alphabetic code. How did the language evolve? Why do we have a written and verbal oral language? Well, I'm glad you asked. So as humanity developed, so did the need for language. We needed a way to represent ideas and keep records, a way to write things down. So, you know, in the early days, how did we represent the difference between maybe a neighbor borrowing an ostrich egg and a goose egg? If you drew an egg, it looked like an egg. How could you tell the difference? Well, if you could draw, maybe you could draw the different animals. I certainly couldn't. So here's maybe a deer and an ox. So now the Sumerians kind of changing. You can see a little more symbolism there. Oh, and now we've got a little more accurate Egyptian pictographs. Slowly evolving. The Chinese have over 30,000 characters in their English language. The average Chinese person, I think, knows just under 3,000. Quite a bit. Oh, now we can see from the Phoenicians how we are starting to get these letters. And the Greeks. English language is made up of lots of combination of different languages. We borrow from everybody. So we have 46 letters in our English language, and they represent 45 sounds. And we can write any example of words using these different sounds. We also have 7 types of syllables. We teach these to all of our kids so that they can take apart words and put them together. Start off with the vowels. Introduce consonants. What's the difference? I mean, everybody has seen maybe for A is for apple. We take an apple, we put it on the desk in front of them. Now they've got that symbol. Up. And so when they stumble, you can give the little signal and they will get it. It just clicks. We use, so the H brothers. These are digraphs. For some reason with our dyslexic kids, this works. They have that pictorial and they can figure it out then. Last one, blends. So if you go to get a twist at the ice cream shops, who hopefully will open soon, BL is a blend. You hear both of those sounds, ST, st, and so forth. That's all. That's all I have. I hope I didn't blow anybody's mind or make you go too late.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I apologize that I couldn't quite start on time.
Oh, that's fine.
So Ray, I have a question.
Yes.
So Catherine, we find, in schools doing mediations, special ed issues, dyslexia is not recognized in the schools. I mean, not that they don't know that it's an issue,
Yeah.
but that's a constant battle. Is there
Yes.
a way that we can get around that somehow?
Well, yeah, there's red tape. So since schools don't get any funding for dyslexia, you don't want to say the word dyslexia. You want to say a language and learn. You could even say a language disability, written or oral, whatever it may be. They will recognize that. When I have somebody that wants an evaluation at the school, because the school is offering to pay for it, I tell them to ask for a full language and mathematical evaluation, not to even mention the word dyslexia.
It's frustrating for parents because they have, this, and they want to use the dyslexic training methods to address it. And it's a big conflict for.
Yep. No, hopefully it's changing. We're getting there slowly, but surely. It's just not there yet. So, I would rather do the testing here because I know what I'm looking for. I know what to look for. When I give a child directions, do they look away to process the information? How is their penguinship? How do they grip the pencil? All of these things are little subtle things that I don't see if somebody else tests. So, I'd like to see those things because then I know what I'm looking for and it's easier to remediate when you know how the child processes. But yeah, good question. Unfortunately, no funding for dyslexia. Now it is changing though. I'm very hopeful.
Kathy, does your place work with adults also?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Do adults pretty much kind of self-identify? And what's the oldest student that you've had?
The oldest gentleman I had was 64 years old, and he was, believe it or not, a truck driver. He could not read the street signs. He would stop every mile or whatever he needed, he'd stop at a gas station, this is what he told me, and have them draw him a picture of where to go. Now, mind you, he couldn't read the street signs. So he would get to the next corner, stop and ask again. And he came to me wanting to be able to read a Dr. Seuss book to his grandbabies. As soon as he could read a Dr. Seuss book, he stopped coming. About broke my heart because there's so much more out there. But as soon as he got that, he was done. He could read to his grandkids. 69-year-old. Can you imagine? Scary.
Kathy, what about numbers? You've talked about letters. What about numbers? What about music? Other things like that?
Well, numbers is called, that's dyscalculia. We do work with that also. But then again, that is, reversals, which is a typical P's and nines are the same, as well as G's. G's, B's, P's, nines, all kind of intermingle. Numbers, like I said, is classified as dyscalculia. If there's too many steps in a problem, our kids can't remember. Lots of times memorizing the multiplication facts, the addition, subtraction facts are way over their head. So it's, again, repetition, repetition. You have them build. If you're doing a multiplication problem, it's not 2 times 4. It's 2 sets of 4 is, now you've made it a sentence. And we give them blocks. So they build me 2 blocks of 4 so they can see in their mind, oh, it's hands-on, they can see what it is. And then, you take that multiplication fact, you reverse it, 4 sets of 2, same thing. Well, ties into division, because division is 8, divided by 4 is 2. So you kind of try to build addition and subtraction. Addition is the opposite of subtraction, and division is the opposite of multiplication. So you try to link those in so it's not, a foreign concept to them. It's a lot of work, though, for kids, let alone algebra, because there's so many steps. I only go up to algebra as far as the tutoring goes. Anybody else?
Any more questions?
Kathy, I have one more question. Common Core was brought in as a new, the preferred way of instruction, which really, I never heard a good thing at all.
None.
From our teachers. And I just wondered how you, when there's different mandates placed on educators, and I feel like there's been a lot, that there'd been a lot of progress made in education to help identify students who were dyslexic, but then, there's these other requirements, to teach in certain styles, and how does that complicate things for students?
Well, and especially now in math. So they will show a student in elementary school 5 different ways to do a multiplication problem. And then the students come to us and say, I don't know how to do this. Well, yeah, because there's too many options. Rather than showing them one way, pick your way, whichever way is easiest for you, and do it that way. There's so many options. So again, they come to us, we try to organize them, pick one way and master that way. I don't really work with the school systems as far as what they're doing, other than their spelling words. We will work on, but we just work on the basics. A says a, AI. There's 8 different ways to spell A in the English language. We teach our kids each way, depending on their level. So we build that way so that when they go back to the school, they will know to use AI in the middle of a syllable. They will know to use AY at the end of a word. They will know that EIGH spells A after a T, before a T. So we give them the clues so that they can at least, figure out which one to use. And if they have to guess, they can at least make a guess that the computer can recognize rather than off the wall. So that's a touchy subject there as far as the schools are concerned. But yeah, we kind of approach it from the basics. You can't run a marathon until you can crawl, walk, and then jog. So usually I like to get the kids when they're crawling so we can get the right information in there. And what happens too, typically, is kids will come in elementary school, we'll see them for about a year, get them above grade average, send them back out. Middle school, talking about a whole lot more writing. So they come back for 6 months. Here's the different styles of writing that you need to know. Send them back out. High school, now they're getting ready for those ACTs, PSATs. If they still indeed have those, I don't know. But then you work on affixes, because they're going to have to take apart, some big words and be able to spell those big words. And then
Catherine,
Yes.
how many people do you work with?
personally, I have 7 students right now. So we service, which is another thing, anybody interested in doing some part-time tutoring, please get a hold of me. You'll take our training and you'll know more about the English language than you ever decided you ever wanted to know, but I could certainly need and use a few more instructors. But yeah, personally, I have 6 right now. 4 of those are girls. So it kind of turns.
And how
Ca-
many instructors do you have?
I have 4 instructors.
And they each have a number of people that they
Yes.
work with?
Yes, as a matter of fact, right now I have a waiting list because I need more instructors. I can only take so many and do all the bookwork that I need to do here. You know,
Yeah.
What are the ages of the kids that you're working with, Catherine?
I have, let me see. I have a 1st grader to a 9th grader.
In normal times, do these children, are they in school all day and then come to you after?
I have 1 instructor who is doing face-to-face, correct?
But I mean, I'm thinking
Yes.
that's a hard, a
Yes.
lot of work for a student to be in
Yes.
school for 6 or 7 hours and then come to you.
Correct. Yep. Well, what happens is they get a break. We don't, we don't take them immediately. Some parents want them to come in. They come twice a week though. They don't come every day.
Okay.
So twice a week for an hour at a time.
And in the beginning, you indicated this is not an uncommon problem, and yet you're only seeing 20,
Yes.
30 students. The others, how do they get to you? The parents
Word of
have to
mouth.
know about you?
Word of mouth is our biggest asset, and online.
How many people do you have on the waiting list now, Kathy?
I have 5 students who are waiting,
Oh, okay.
which you hate to make them wait, but I won't tutor anybody later than 8 o'clock at night. That's ridiculous. So kids need to get in bed and be ready for their,
Now
school.
that one that you have that's a 1st grader, how was it identified with that child?
I did testing on her to identify. She's not a reader. So what the testing that I did, she quote unquote read pictures for me. We played word games and all of those I scored, to let me know whether she had the signs and symptoms of a dyslexic learner. So depending on the age and the ability of the child, again, it's all tailored. And I do math testing also when I do, older kids, language and math. With the little ones, let's get the language down first, and then I worry about the math. If they can't read it, how are they going to do it? So I work on language first, and then we can transition into math.
Kathy, for the youngsters, from crawling forward, are there telltale signs that the parents would notice that concern them?
Like I said, the reversals are cute up until about 2nd grade, then they're not so cute anymore. I have my high schooler now, still reversals with B's and D's. Why they waited so long breaks my heart, but it's not cute now. So you want to get as soon as you can, again, recognizing the sounds that A goes with A. If they can't make that connection, lots of times it is hereditary, does tend to run on the father's side. So that's one of the first things I ask when somebody calls, is there a family history? That's a telltale sign.
Are you saying that anything having to do with, the symptoms of dyslexia or the identification of dyslexia is being part of the language testing that's done in schools when a student is identified for language LD?
No, very few and very far between.
Okay.
Again, because schools don't get funding for dyslexia, so why would they look
No, but they could put them into language,
Yes.
LD, and then they get testing. So you think they would at least look at it. when they test for that.
Well, but then they would actually have to do something about it, and not all schools are equipped to do anything about it. They don't know what to do with. And especially our kids, because our kids are, you know, I require an IQ test, because if somebody's IQ is, the average is 100. If somebody's IQ is 70, you know, I can't take them. I've got too many other students who are 100 or average and above. Then they are LD. Then the schools can, you know, provide services for them. But if they are average to above average and they're just struggling with the written word, whether it be comprehension, whether it be writing, whether it be spelling, that's where we come in. So you have to be able to recognize, you know, that these kids are not stupid. They just, they work extra hard to try to do what they're doing.
Kathy,
Yes.
I'd just like to give a testimonial. 25 years ago, one of my 4 sons spent an awful lot of time in high school and then in college, in the beginning of college, studying all the time. He studied probably 3 times the amount of time that my other sons did. He made it all the way to the 11th, to a junior in college, when he was beginning to really fail badly. He just couldn't spend enough time studying to make, you know, to do what had to be done. And one of his college counselors, thank goodness, said, let me test you for, you know, dyslexia. And he was dyslexic, and came to your group in the early 90s. And spent, I don't know, about 15 months or 18 months, you know, a couple of times a week. And it helped him. I guess you don't cure somebody of that, but you teach them enough skills that they can work around the difficulty.
Exactly.
And has become a, you know, successful adult.
Wonderful. Thank you. See, that's why we do what we do. It's for stories like that. And you know what? He probably needed his files organized, because he should not be studying, you know, 3 times as much, you know, to get through something. And again, you know, books on tape would have been excellent for him. Somebody taking notes for him. Imagine the time saver that would have been for him. And, you know, so we do what we can, but thank you for sharing that.
Very good. Are there any more questions? All right, George, can I get my screen back? Kathy, this was just an engaging educational presentation that you gave to us.
And I apologize for going over and not being able to figure it out immediately.
No apologies necessary.
Yeah.
As Lynetta mentioned, many of us are, in a sense, technology challenged, especially as things change all the time with this equipment, with computers and everything else. But you did a great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely great job. In appreciation for the time and preparation that you donated for our enjoyment and education, the Rotary Club of Flint will make a donation in your name to the Rotary International Foundation for the eradication of polio.
Wonderful.
And we sincerely thank you for giving us such a great presentation. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
I want to thank Rotarian Anne Marie for her inspirational message, Rotarian Ellen Brothers for her speaker introduction, and our note taker, Rotarian Marissa Pierce. And Flint Rotary thanks each and every one of you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our program as much as we enjoyed welcoming you as members and guests. Please join us next week as we present District Governor Charles Seeley, Rotary District 7020, speaking on Rotary in the Caribbean. Stay safe, keep warm, and look to open opportunities in order to provide service above self. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So do we get a tick?
Thank you.
We got another tick with the bell.
I gotta work on my mechanics, sorry.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody, have a good weekend.
Appreciate you coming.
Bring ahead.
That's right.
Good job anyway, George. The ticks are
Well, sometimes it
hard
works,
to,
sometimes it doesn't. I don't know.
yeah, they're hard to avoid. It's just kind of a way for them to get back at you for whatever you did to them.
Yeah, I don't need to give them any ammunition. All right.
Jim, thank you for joining us.
I think he's muted.
Oh yeah, he is. He is.
Now you can hear me.
There you are. Thank you for joining us today.
They stand by. Thank you.
Like I said, you're looking good.
Okay, have a good weekend, everybody.
Yep, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.